What is the toughest bind we have ever experienced?
Maybe marrying him.
The toughest one? Is there, can I narrow it down to a top 30?
I'll tell you, I was thinking about this the other day, mainly because I was watching this or looking, reviewing, whatever you want to say. I was thinking about it. I think probably one of the tougher ones has been where we went backwards down a trail full of horses on icy roads, and I didn't recognize it at the time. And it was several years later that I realized I was like, I'm really glad Dad has his expertise with the backing up the trailer. Otherwise, that would have potentially ended up and potentially being like
Dead
99%
horses
likelihood of either at least dead horses
or
or
us.
potentially just everybody gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that was backstory for anybody. We're moose hunting for my brother. The worst moose hunt in the freaking history of world of the world. And we tried to get this moose. We were probably midway through the horrendous hunt that it was, and we were going up a hill. It was icy,
It was
and
a switchback type mountain road.
I should
yeah,
add, Mom was safely at home.
Mom was safely home, but we were going up the hill. Everything was going fine with a trailer full of horses, one per person, which was riding me, Dad, Braden, and then we had one or two pack
Two
horses. I
pack
think it was
horses. Yeah.
okay. It was all right. We'll go two, and so there's five horses, us, this trailer going up this hill, pretty steep grade, and suddenly Dad lost traction and could not keep going. And there's no side,
Ice.
there's no rail guard on the side. It's you can't look straight down, but you can see there's
Pretty
a
close.
grassy part of a mountain going at a pretty steep angle downward to our left, and nothing but rocky up face to the left. And so there's some trees, but Dad's maneuverability kept us from going downward. And he said, "Hold on, boys." And he held it. He kept going for a little bit. And then he just purposely jackknifed it into the side of the rocky face to keep us from pulling over. And what ended up happening was the back of the trailer or the back of the pickup and the front of the trailer were kind of teetering off the side. The heavy part of the pickup with the engine was towards the side. And then the horse we hit hard enough. A couple horses hit the bottom of the trailer. I know I heard them fall, and so we slowly got out of the pickup towards the rocky face and pulled the horses out slowly. And then Dad promptly, because this was after the transmission had already blown. Like I said, it was bad.
It was a
experience.
hunt from
Dad,
I
hell.
was gonna say that was the second time you called me, wasn't
yeah,
it?
Dad promptly called Mom, and he goes, "Hey, you still got that tow company number?" And the rest is history. So yeah, that's probably one of the toughest binds I've been in personally, because I I realized, not at the time, I was like, oh, Dad's got it. I literally sat there just completely, I was like, he's got it, like completely relaxed. It was a little jarring, but we're like, we're good. And it was a couple years later when I
Were
realized,
you
it was
totally
like,
relaxed?
yeah, that was
I
bad.
was concentrating and reacting quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure your pucker factor is pretty high.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that was
Well,
that was a
when you got
again, like
out,
I said, retrospectively, as now as an adult who's been in charge of other adults and knowing like some hairy situations, I'm like, well, that was
yeah.
a good save, Dad. Good one. You can chalk that
Yeah,
one up
well,
there.
High five.
when you get out and you look at the front end of your 1-ton pickup hooked to a horse trailer, gooseneck 20, what, I guess that's 32 foot long from the pin to the tail end, and the front tires of the pickup are hanging out over nothing. Yeah, I was like, ooh, it could have been worse.
Yeah. Yeah. We walked
A
away.
lot
Yeah,
worse.
and when I told you on the way out before that trip, don't be calling me for a tow truck.
I mean,
I
we'll just
really
blame
wasn't
you.
We'll
We'll just blame you.
Yeah.
I
You
wasn't
put that
either.
bad juju on us.
Oh, that was a hard hunt.
That's
17
why
days.
I'm never gonna go moose hunting in Montana. Anybody asks, are you gonna put in for your moose tag? I'm like, nope, I already got it. It's hanging up on my brother's wall.
Your brother's
that.
Bullwinkle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, God, yeah, that was tough. I mean, there's been some really close calls. I mean, had a number of really close calls, not all of them around ranching or hunting and stuff, but I remember I was seismographing. I was about just turned 18 years old out of high school.
Oh, so you were totally rational and always thinking.
Oh yeah, that
safety.
frontal lobe was
Yeah.
fully developed.
10-foot tall, bulletproof, ain't nothing gonna happen to me.
Well, but this was really wasn't one of those deals. We would drill holes like 250 feet down, depending on what they were looking for by the exploration. And then we would dump dynamite down the holes, put two
What could go wrong?
wired
Dynamite.
blasting caps in dynamite and dump them down the holes. And then they would come by and then put an electrical charge to those. And after they put a bunch of electrodes in the ground to be able to measure the shock waves. And so we're drilling holes and we're putting, I think the most I ever put down a hole was 250 pounds of dynamite that are all, they're like, 3 inches around, 2.5 inches around and 2 foot long. And there are 5 pounds of dynamite in each stick. And we're putting, at one, we were doing 250 pounders. There's some pictures somewhere where I got a piece of dynamite that screws together that is like 12 foot, 14 foot long, and put those in. And something happened that particular hole. I mean, the oldest guy in the crew was 22 years old. I mean, these are young guys and dynamite, blasting caps,
Again,
drill rigs.
What could go wrong?
Yeah. And so we could not get the dynamite to go down the hole. So we were able to pull it back out. It was just very shallow. The hole had caved or something. It was like real sandy soil. We just couldn't get it to hold with some techniques we used with mud and literally bran and water. Pulled it out, and this driller threw it off to the side. And one of the other drillers, we would kind of leapfrog around each other, these holes sometimes. And he come over and he went past us as we were there on the other side of the rig and missed running over that dynamite with those caps by just like a foot.
That would have blown everybody up.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't have felt anything. It would have just complete vapor.
Yeah, it'd been yeah. And that was like, we looked at each other and went, and I said, wow, we just about had a whole bunch of people saying nice things about us. He goes, what? And he goes, oh, yeah, you're right. I guess that's when they do say nice things about it. And then we picked everything up and kept on going. I mean, there's been a lot of, I mean, you don't live to be of any kind of age and doing risky work where you don't have close calls.
So the moral of the story is you don't do the risky work. And you
How about, okay, Mom. Calls. All right, there, school teacher. What's been your toughest bind?
Teaching school.
Yeah.
Room full of third graders on a dare.
You haven't
She's
had
never broken a bone.
Yeah.
You've never broken a bone, Mom?
Never broken a bone, never had a surgery. The only reason
she's never had a stitch.
No, never. Only
I haven't had a stitch either. Well, that's not true.
Only reason I ever went to the hospital was to have you and your brother, and then they kicked me out sooner than what you should have. I think I was able to stay after you were born for 36 hours, and your brother was maybe 24. No, it wasn't even 24.
24.
Well, I'm today's years old when I found out my mom never had any significant injury like that. I didn't know that.
I let Dad take care of that end of things. He seemed to do it really well.
Oddly enough,
or not well, depending on how you look at it.
I've never had a stitch that wasn't a surgery stitch.
Yeah, that's
That's what I would say. Is I've had stitches, but they were all surgery stitches.
Yeah, anything. I should have had stitching a lot.
Wisdom teeth taken out. Does that count as a surgery? I guess it does.
Yes,
I don't know. That depends on who you're talking to. Like you could kind of count like mine because they knocked me out, but at the same time, like I had more invasive stuff.
I don't count
too.
that, but I mean that would be the closest thing I've ever had.
Yeah, interesting.
But I grew up where it had to be bad before you went to the doctor.
Yeah, well, you're an hour away from any really serious medical care.
Well,
I figured it out.
Cut my thumb off, and I doctored it with paper towel and electrical tape.
That seems like
we had a conversation about that.
Yeah, it worked. Yeah. Thumb's still there, and it mostly works.
Nothing seems to grow in paper towels, so it worked out okay.
Yeah. I mean, honestly,
hiding it from everybody was the hard part.
My biggest pickles probably have to do with your father, but it was usually just I was around. I wasn't really in it.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's some of our toughest binds.